The story begins with Officer Richard Hayes, a 42-year-old veteran of the police force, parked in his patrol car at the edge of a small suburban park. His brows furrowed as he watched a tall, athletic black man jogging toward the parking lot. The man was wearing a gray hoodie and headphones, bobbing his head to music as he slowed down near the patrol car. "Just another troublemaker," Richard muttered under his breath. His partner, Officer Jenna Clark, a rookie with barely 6 months on the force, glanced at him nervously. "Richard, he's just jogging. Let's not—" Jenna began. "Stay in the car," Richard snapped. "I've got this." Without waiting for an actual reason, Richard stepped out of the vehicle, a mix of arrogance and misplaced authority in his stride. He blocked the jogger's path, hand resting on his holstered weapon. "Hey, you can't loiter around here," Richard barked. The jogger, startled, pulled off his headphones and smiled politely. "Loiter? I'm jogging. Is there a problem, officer?" Richard's eyes narrowed. "Don't get smart with me." The tension was palpable. Jenna, watching from the car, gripped the door handle, unsure whether to intervene. "Look, officer, I'm not here to cause trouble," the man said calmly. "I'm just trying to finish my run." "Your kind always has a story," Richard sneered. "Hands where I can see them." The jogger raised his hands, still maintaining a calm demeanor. "All right, officer. No need for this. Let's all just relax." But Richard wasn't interested in relaxing. His prejudice had already decided this man was a threat. When the jogger took a small step back, Richard interpreted it as aggression. Before anyone could blink, Richard swung a punch, knocking the man to the ground. Jenna leaped out of the car. "Richard, what are you doing?" she screamed. The jogger sat up, rubbing his jaw, but still remarkably composed. "Officer Hayes, is it?" he said, his voice firm now, with a sharpness that demanded attention. Richard froze. "How do you know my name?" "Because," the man said, slowly pulling out his wallet and flipping open a badge, "I'm your new captain, Captain Marcus Bennett." The color drained from Richard's face. Jenna gasped audibly. "What?" Richard stammered, his bravado crumbling. Marcus stood up, towering over Richard, his piercing gaze locking onto the officer. "You just assaulted your superior, Officer Hayes. I'd suggest you rethink how you treat people, especially those you know nothing about." For a moment, the world seemed to stand still. Jenna's mouth opened and closed, unable to process the scene. Richard stepped back, stammering apologies, but Marcus held up a hand to silence him. "I'll deal with you later," Marcus said coldly, brushing off his hoodie. He turned to Jenna, his voice softer. "Officer Clark, I'll need you to file a full report on this incident." Jenna nodded quickly, grateful for the chance to make things right. As Marcus walked away, Richard collapsed against the patrol car, his arrogance shattered. Jenna didn't say a word but gave him a look of utter disappointment before returning to the driver's seat. The story concludes with Richard facing an internal investigation and mandatory training on implicit bias. Meanwhile, Captain Marcus Bennett becomes a symbol of leadership and resilience, ensuring the department undergoes changes to prevent such incidents in the future. Months later, Marcus and Richard crossed paths again, this time at a community event aimed at bridging divides between the police and local residents. Richard, humbled and deeply remorseful, approached Marcus and extended a hand. "I owe you an apology," Richard said. "I let my prejudice get the better of me." Marcus accepted the handshake but leaned in with a quiet reminder. "Apologies are a start, Officer Hayes, but true change comes from action." The story ends with a message. Prejudices blind us to the humanity in others. True strength lies in humility, understanding, and the courage to change.